Hi, my name is Bo and I live an alcohol-free lifestyle, and welcome to the Beautiful Savage channel, where together we discover how to put the world in front of us and alcohol behind us. The topic of today's discussion is 4 reasons I quit drinking, and reflecting on a year and a half of alcohol-free living and how it may be beneficial and helpful to you. So out of the 4 reasons that I quit drinking alcohol, I'm actually going to save the most vulnerable to the very end. It's a pretty heavy topic that weighs heavy on my heart. So hope you stick around to that one, and hope you can get some benefit out of that one as well. So alcohol-free living is such a big topic, and the truth is that it's much bigger than me. So I feel like whenever I quit drinking, one of the most beneficial things that I found was when I would watch other people share their story about why they quit drinking and the tools that they use to help overcome alcohol, and then also, which was really important, of what their life looked like and what their life transitioned into without alcohol. Some of these individuals were even like rock stars and people like that I'd listen to their music forever, and I kind of looked at their crazy life that they lived and was thinking, if they can climb out of this, I can too. So the reason that I make these videos is I just feel compelled to share my experiences, because I think that through example, more people can learn the benefits of not drinking. But I also think that it's helpful to share our story with other people that are in the same position that we're in. And if I can be beneficial to you in your path of quitting alcohol, it's something that I would be honored to do. So that's why I'm here sharing this story with you guys today. I also think that when you go down the path of putting alcohol behind you, you put yourself on a path of having a closer relationship with yourself. And I think that is super, super important, because that is truly the way that you end up leveling up as high as possible. Because the truth is maybe you have to burn a little bit first before you can shine the brightest. Okay, so let's get into it. So it's always interesting when somebody realizes that I'm alcohol-free or an advocate of alcohol-free living. Usually one of the first questions anybody asks me is, why did you quit drinking? I think for a lot of people, it's almost they're expecting to hear like this rock bottom story. And the truth is so many people out there do have a rock bottom story. I actually kind of have one myself, but it's also a culmination of just many, many years of drinking, even decades of drinking. And I'm going to explain some of that. But I also truly think that it's any amount of alcohol can lead you to living an alcohol-free life. I don't think you have to be an alcoholic or hit rock bottom. I think if you're the kind of person that even drinks a little throughout the week, drinks a lot throughout the week, has had years under your belt of drinking, or you've had a career of drinking, like I have. I started drinking when I was about 17 years old. And for the record, I'm 45 years old now. And I just turned a year and a half alcohol-free a couple of days ago. So this is a really, really big milestone for me, and something that I'm really excited to celebrate, because I think we all kind of have our mental milestones when we want to achieve something. And for a lot of us that choose to go alcohol free, I think for some people it's like, if I can knock out 6 months or a year or whatever the case is. I know for a year that's a really big milestone that a lot of people celebrate, and rightfully so. It's a full year, it's a full trip around the sun, with a lot of influence coming at you and a lot of outsider noise in your ear about drinking, and a lot of pull in that direction. And it's a hard thing to accomplish, because it's such an easy thing to do and it's so celebrated. So I think for a lot of people, that 1 year is like just such a big milestone. And I absolutely agree. For me, for whatever reason, a year and a half was a point that I really, really wanted to hit as a personal milestone. And I'll explain why. I knew that if I could make it to a year, it was one of those things that I could just buckle down with discipline and self-control And if I could make it to a year, that I would just be so proud of myself. But I also knew that, I had heard stories of people that like made it for a full year and then ended up kind of going back to it. I think that they kind of thought like, okay, I did one full year and now I've got control over it. And a lot of those people kind of relapsed from the stories that I looked into and the research that I did, and ended up kind of going back to a drinking lifestyle and then realizing like, whoa, I just can't control this. This is not a good habit for me to be involved in. Ended up quitting again. I felt like for me, like if I could get to a year and a half, like that would be like beyond the year, and then I'd have enough time under my belt that I felt like maybe if I could hit a year and a half, the real ease of not drinking would come to me at that point. And just so you know, I kind of had a different objective when I quit drinking alcohol, because one thing that I wanted for myself, and this is one thing that I really want for you guys too, is I want you to live a life, and I wanted to live a life where I was completely free from the drug, from the cravings, from the desire. I didn't want a white knuckle life. I didn't really want to live in a situation that every day I was just get through this day without drinking. And I didn't want to be obsessed with that. I literally, like I say, is I wanted to put the world in front of me and alcohol behind me. And once I felt like alcohol was behind me, then I could tackle the world and go after it with everything that I had, and then live life completely to the fullest, which is actually why I'm here sharing this with you guys, because I want you to live your life to the fullest. And I think that you want to live your life to the fullest too. So let me get into the reasons why I quit drinking. It's just kind of interesting. Okay, so the truth is too, is for every single person that asks me, why did you quit drinking? I kind of give a different answer based on who I'm talking to and how I actually think my answer might help them. So I mold my answer, and they're all honest answers, but I mold my answer on how I think it could benefit them the most. Again, depending on who I'm talking to. It's sometimes you have to read the room, and sometimes you have to kind of look at your audience. And I knew years before I quit drinking that I wanted to quit drinking. And I even tried to control it for a while. That's something that I'll talk about on another episode. One of the main reasons that I quit drinking, so reason number one, when people ask, is I was tired of my own shit. And let me explain that. I think anybody who's had even one drink, if you've had one hangover, if you've had one bad choice from alcohol, if you've had one night of drinking and fuzzy memories, or if you've had a lot of them, I think that you've experienced that moment where you realize, because of alcohol, this happened, and because I drank, this was the outcome. This is what critical thinking is. Critical thinking is cause and effect and action and reaction. It's such an important attribute of our thinking system, and a way that we all need to really apply that to our lives. And it's kind of odd that a lot of us kind of float through life without thinking very critically, and we can see that in the choices that we make. We can easily kind of look at our life and see how some of the choices unfolded and realize okay, I probably didn't think that through. So sometimes people come up to me and they were like, why'd you quit drinking? And I literally, it was just I just got tired of my own shit. The reality there is I had to take a really, really brutally honest inventory of where I was falling short, where my weaknesses were, where my traumas lie. And I had to take extreme accountability for my own actions. There were so many moments that, to be quite honest, I would reflect on what happened. And reflection and drinking is a tricky thing too, because sometimes you don't remember everything correctly. And the interesting thing is that it's become so common, even among, I went to university out of high school, and even in the university setting, I think it's a very common theme, like binge drinking at parties and situations like that. I lived in England for a while too, and in England it's really interesting, like the binge drinking culture over there. And one of my English buddies over there was telling me how it was just like an epidemic, how most people that go out to bars are just getting just totally hammered wasted. So being tired of our own shit, like what a crazy and easy answer that actually is. But like I said, I think that even if you've had one hangover, I think if you've gotten sick one time from drinking, or you've made one bad decision or got behind the wheel one time driving when you've had alcohol in your system, or whatever you've allowed alcohol to rob you of, it creates that cause and effect and the action and reaction. And the reaction is being tired of your own shit and the things that alcohol brings to the table for you that aren't beneficial. I don't think there's anything that has ever happened to me ever in life where I drank and received some sort of benefit from it. I'm a big traveler. I love to go traveling. And, back in the day when I was drinking, when I would travel, there'd be so many things that I would miss out on and I'd look at later, or there would even be days that I would have to, stay in bed because I was hungover or I felt like shit. And it's just not what I wanted for myself. So actually that's one of the answers is I got really, really tired of my own shit. So if you're listening to this and if that resonates with you, take a brutally honest inventory of yourself. Like I said, where your traumas lie, all the mistakes that have happened because of drinking, and ask yourself, am I tired of my own shit? And maybe I just need to get out of my own way. And maybe the easiest way to do that is to quit drinking altogether and just put alcohol behind you. Okay, so reason number 2, and this is a very, very important reason as well. That reason is even one drink really hurt my soul and hurt my spirit, and I'm going to explain that to you. So whenever I was younger and I guess more resilient, I used to drink and go out and have fun with everybody or whatever the case is, and then that following day I would have a hangover. And when I was younger, the hangovers were brutal, but I guess your body's a bit more resilient, and it seemed like the hangovers more just really hurt me physically. But as I got older, and I think as I got more spiritual in nature as well, one thing that I really realized with alcohol is that even one drink really hurt my spirit. And it was like even one drink, when I would wake up the following day, I still kind of felt, kind of moody and irritable, because that's what alcohol does to you. A lot of times we try to pretend that that's not the situation, that, maybe I'm just having a bad day or I don't feel right. But once you remove alcohol for a while from your life, you'll look back and you'll realize, oh my gosh, that really did make me moody, irritable, a whole host of like personality traits that probably ultimately aren't the way that you want to live your life daily. But where this comes into play on this particular reason is just that one drink, how that one drink would hurt me. And I'm talking about one drink here. I'm not talking about going out and having 4 or 5 or even many more than that. It's just what that one drink does to tear up your soul and to tear up your spirit and to disconnect you from your own spirit. And that was something that became really, really hard for me to deal with, is that I knew that if I went out and drank the following day, that not only my body was gonna hurt, and it may even keep me from getting my work done as properly as I was wanting to, or getting to the gym, or accomplishing some goals that I really wanted to accomplish, which is hard enough, but it also just destroyed my spirit, and it just made me feel like that edge of depression. And like I've mentioned before, alcohol stays in your system for up to 7 days. So even one alcoholic drink will really play a part on how you feel the following day, your happiness, your joy, your clarity. And it really chips away at your discipline and your self-control as well. One of the really interesting things, and I encourage you to do this, is you can even Google like toxicity level of recreational drugs, is there's a lot of bar graphs out there that will show the different recreational drugs that people use, all the way from the most common, which is alcohol, to the craziest drugs out there on the street: heroin, crack, LSD, MDMA, different drugs that are available. But out of all of those drugs, and as scary as some of those drugs sound, at the very top of the list is alcohol. And this is measured on 2 metrics, actually. And one is harm to yourself, and the other is harm to users. So not only is alcohol the most toxic drug to yourself, but it's also the most harmful in users. Domestic abuse, violence, car accidents on the road, etc. There's so many scary things that happen in our life that when you actually look at the cause behind how those things happen, often alcohol is involved. And I don't even remember the statistic, but on domestic abuse and murder, actually, the rate of alcohol being in one or both of the people involved system is extremely high, to the point where when I first saw that statistic, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's wild. And it goes to show, because we know that, again, when you look in retrospect back at your life, and even like the amount of times I was hanging out at bars, how dangerous those places are. And even some dangerous things have happened to me. And in the sake of vulnerability, I mean, I even, many years ago in my late 20s, I went to hear a musician that I was friends with in a biker bar in Tennessee, and got jumped in the bar and ended up being hospitalized. And the crazy thing about that story is that I just went to hear some music. And it's just kind of one of those cases of being around a lot of people hopped up and fueled up on hard liquor, and being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I guess some folks in there didn't really want me there, and they let me know it. So yeah, I mean, it's just a scary, scary thing. But check out that graph, because it's pretty eye-opening on the toxicity level. So to my point, even one drink will tear you down, and we don't want that. We want to lift you up, so keep it about that. Okay, so here is reason number 3, and this is a wild and crazy one. I don't know if you've ever heard it explained this way, so I'm going to explain it to you, and I hope that you commit it to memory. And drinking alcohol is a premeditative thing, which is interesting. Before you reach for a glass of alcohol, or before you get in your car and drive to a bar or meet friends at happy hour, most people, and almost always, I think, you have already created the situation in your mind. You've made the mental choice that this is what I'm going to go do. That's actually kind of the nice thing about it too, because you can put a stop to it if you're being really mindful of your thoughts, and you can keep yourself from doing that. But this third reason on why I quit drinking has something to do with that, and that is that alcohol takes your emotions and replaces them with new ones. So just like a thief, alcohol will take whatever you're feeling and replace it with something new. And that happens almost immediately. And for me, I could feel it almost like when alcohol touched my lips, it would like trigger something in my brain. And then I was kind of like off to the races with the intoxication of the alcohol. And why this is really important is because I think, again, back to the very first reason on like taking that brutally honest inventory of yourself, is that I think it's really important, even if you drink a little bit, of like why you're actually drinking. Because I think the reality is that it's such an easy thing to just reach out to. Like, I had a bad conversation with my significant other, or I just got in an argument with my boss or my son or my daughter, or I'm having financial troubles, or I'm worried about something, or whatever the case is. I mean, we're living in a time that we've got a lot of things coming at us at different angles. Life is difficult, and I understand and I completely sympathize with why people choose to drink, but I also know that there's a better path. And I sympathize with this fact that how alcohol takes your emotions and replaces them with new ones. Because when you're feeling something adverse or feeling something hard, or maybe you've just never squared with the traumas that you've had, from childhood or from bad relationships or whatever the case is, and you can just easily just reach out for a drink, and in a few seconds after that, those emotions can be completely gone and erased with new ones. It truly is a scary thing. I think what's really wild about that, and about how alcohol taking your emotions and replacing them with new ones, is that just like a thief, it takes them from you. And as you go down this path of drinking, like for me, I drank for decades, and as it continued to take from me and take from me and take from me, I think I ended up in a place where I kind of didn't know myself at all. And the wild thing about that is then after you put alcohol behind you, and you no longer allow it to steal from you and rob from you, and you end up taking these steps forward into your abstinence from alcohol, you start to develop a relationship with yourself. And the interesting thing about that is, after years and years of your thoughts and your emotions being robbed from you, you end up in a place where you might actually learn yourself and have a relationship with yourself for the very first time in your life. Like, if you're somebody who, like me, started drinking as a teenager, and now here I am, I guess I ultimately quit drinking at 43 and I'm 45, then you have this opportunity to truly explore your heart and to learn who you are on the inside for the very first time, because you're not letting anything cloud that. You're actually looking within, looking honestly at yourself, and you're giving yourself an opportunity to live in clarity, explore yourself in clarity, explore your heart, learn what you're all about. And that's just such a beautiful thing. So that's my third reason I quit drinking, and it's a reason that I really, really hope that you hold close to yourself too, and just kind of remember that when you're struggling with alcohol, is that if I choose to drink, it's going to take my emotions and replace them with new ones. Okay, so I'm going to share reason number 4. Like I said, this is a really vulnerable reason, but I want to share it with you guys because I think alcohol is such a harsh and brutal drug that there may be some folks out there listening that can relate to this and understand. And if you're not at this place where I was before I quit, then I hope you kind of take this as a warning in a way, and kind of heed this advice, because I don't want you to get to this place. If you have the strength and courage to walk away from alcohol before you get to this place where I was, then I just hope and pray that you can get there and give that gift to yourself. But about 1.5 years ago, right before I chose to completely quit drinking, I guess I did have one of those moments where I did hit what you would call rock bottom, because I woke up like I'd woken up so many times before, with just a killer hangover. I felt it in my body, that kind of hangover where you don't really want to move. And at this point, I was actually trying to control drinking. And what I learned for myself was that controlling drinking was much more stressful than just quitting drinking altogether. And often for me, if you have an addictive personality, that for me, it was like I would go these spans without drinking, but then when I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to drink on this Saturday or whatever dumb excuse that I came up with to allow myself to drink. Like, it's a pretty day, I'm gonna go sit outside and, have some drinks on a patio. It's, whatever it is. There's so many crazy reasons and excuses why people go drink. And so for me, I would kind of slingshot back during that time, that when I would go these spans without drinking and then I would go have a drink, it would end up being like, I would just end up drinking too much and I'd overdrink. And anyway, it led to this horrible hangover that I woke up with, and I'm a side sleeper. So I remember vividly, I woke up and I was looking directly at my closet door. And I don't know if you've ever been in a place of depression or in a hard place in your life where, I was even in the cozy confines of my bedroom with my little dogs next to me, and it just seemed though like I was just in this personal prison, because I was, and I'd spent years creating this prison for myself. And I finally was at that point where I knew I was just in pure pain and my spirit was so broken. And you already have that feeling in your mind of, the only way to feel better is to go drink again. And it's that vicious cycle that so many people are in, that, they drink on Friday and then wake up on Saturday afternoon and go get brunch and bottomless mimosas, and they start drinking again. And I was just kind of in that place of, that's what I knew. That was the comfort that I had known for so long. That was how I numbed my problems, and that's how I coped with my traumas for years and years of my life, was to drink alcohol. That was the solution, actually. Like, so many people look at drinking and think like, oh, well, he or she has a problem with drinking. And for most of us that have traumas and are drinking to numb certain things that are going on in our life, that alcohol is actually not the problem, it's the solution. We're trying to find a solution to what hurts us. And unfortunately, we're going about it in a completely wrong way. And I'm a perfect example of that. So that reason number 4 was, I was in a place where, to be quite honest with you, I just was ready to turn the switch off. And I knew that I was at a place in my life that I had to either break through and practice some discipline and self-control when it came to alcohol, and understand how I was geared as a person, and that even one drink wasn't going to get me anywhere. Even one drink could spin me out into a place where I was blackout drunk, or in a place where I didn't want to be with it, where I was out of control with it. And I knew that I just couldn't live that way anymore. I knew that if I continued down the path that I was going, I was going to kill myself. I was going to put an end to it. And it's a hard thing to share. Because life is such a special and beautiful thing, and how we can stand so heavily in our own way, and how we can hurt ourselves to the point where we're not even focused on the gifts that we have and the gratitude that we should have and the amount of abundance that's in front of us, because we've ended up with a relationship with a substance that just constantly has just chipped and chipped and chipped away at our life and taken and taken. Facing suicidal thoughts is one of the hardest things I think that a person can go through, because you realize you're in a place where you have to make a choice. and you realize that you're in a place where you have to make the most important choice. You have to break through, you have to make changes for yourself, or you're at the end of the road. So I wanted to share this with you guys because I truly think that I was in a place of hurt, that I was at the end of the line, and I was at a place of hurt that I knew that I had to climb out of this. But I also know that there's hope in the suffering. And there was a spark within me that I knew, like, you've got nothing to lose here. Like, no matter how hard it is, no matter how difficult this journey seems, it seemed like there was like this total mountain that I had to climb. And I also knew that there was a spark inside of me that like gave me hope. You know, I follow these monks actually, and I think these individuals have said some of the wisest things, and one kind of theme is that all human greatness comes from suffering, and that the path of enlightenment is a path taken alone. And from my experience, I truly believe this. And if you are in a place like I was in for reason number 4, I can tell you that the path to enlightenment is a path taken alone. No one's going to hold your hand through this process. There will be people like me that are out there to help encourage you and help put you on the right path. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to have to stand up, and you're the one that's going to have to put one foot in front of the other. And I hope that you can muster up and find the strength and the courage inside of you to do it, because there's not one person that has been in the place that I've been in, and there are so many of us. We are not alone. There's not one person that has walked this path that has looked back on it and really been like, you know, I feel indifferent about it. Maybe I should have kept drinking. Maybe I should have kept making those choices. Maybe I should have kept pouring alcohol on my traumas. Maybe I should have never had a closer relationship with myself. Maybe I should have never explored my heart. Maybe I shouldn't have leveled up. Maybe I shouldn't have vibed as high as I possibly can. I just don't think it exists. And that's why I'm here to share these reasons with you guys and to share my story, is because there is power in these stories, and there is power in being an example, and there is strength and power and courage that we can obtain from other people that have gone this path before us. And there are so many people that I've looked up to and I continue to look up to, and on a daily basis I look for their teachings and for their guidance to help me continue on the road that I am to being an alcohol-free individual. So I hope that you hear this message as a call to arms. That's what this is. This is more than just encouragement. This is a call to arms. For so many of us, this is actually truly life or death. Because one thing I want you to understand fully and completely, that if you are living under the influence of alcohol, your life does not belong to you. It belongs to alcohol. And just like I said earlier, there has been years of just chipping away and robbing you and stealing from you, which is what alcohol does. And give yourself the gift of having a closer relationship with yourself and exploring your own heart. I promise you it'll be the best decision that you've ever made. So I hope you got some benefit from this message. I hope that my experiences resonated with you a little bit, and I hope you gained some powerful insight on what alcohol does to you, what alcohol can do to you, and the importance of putting the world in front of you and alcohol behind you. Please like and subscribe. I'd love for you to join this community. Please watch the other videos, and if there's somebody out there that you know that can benefit from this message, please share, and I look forward to growing with you. See you next time.